Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Wednesday. Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Crew Brew. My name is Vinnie, Parise, and I am here with Beer Baron, and we are happy to get you set for New Jersey Devils hockey as they take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, X Live, and Twitch. The Devils are looking for their first win of the post-Christmas break portion of their schedule against these Blue Jackets. Beer Baron, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing good, man. Down here at American Whiskey, and I'll tell you what, the crowd is hopping. You know what I love? Not a single Blue Jackets jersey in sight. Not a single one.
Isn't that funny? Funny how that works.
You know what? You wouldn't typically think that would be a statement that people would be like, oh, yeah, no kidding. But sometimes you get surprised. There's like a couple here and there. But I hate when you go to a game and there's a spattering of people from other teams. Especially, we have to go through the whole playing against that team across the river. So we got a lot of that crap going on. But point being, it's a great Devils crowd out here. Peyton and Alejandro and the gang here over at American Whiskey are working hard. They're doing a great job. This is the best environment to be in, to be honest with you. It's so much fun. Pre-game. Yeah, everybody's waving at the camera. There you go. So it's a good time. It's a good time. Keep going, Sam. Go all the way down. There's people trying to wave all the way down. Can it go any further? No, it can't go any further. That's all right. But anyways, Vinnie, how we doing, man? How we doing?
Very, very good. I'm happy to see that American Whiskey is totally packed. The Devils, they're coming off this, this big win against Detroit and the pre-Christmas portion of the schedule, and now they're back against this Columbus Blue Jackets team who's had a tough start to the season. It's not really going to probably be a fruitful season by any means. They were one of the worst teams in the league last year. They're rebuilding. They got all sorts of great prospects in the pipeline, but they did beat the Devils earlier this year. Now, the Devils were very injured when they took them on, but, they still lost to them 2-1. So tonight I bet this team's going to be looking for a little bit more offense when they take on this Blue Jackets team. I assume you agree.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest with you, I was here at that game when they lost 2-1. It was a hard-fought game. It just felt like they couldn't get anything offensively going. So hopefully they come out here and they remember, hey, we're playing one of the worst teams in the league, and they don't lay an egg, because it feels like lately they've been playing down to opponents instead of, stepping up and asserting their dominance. So this team right now needs to go out there and they have to have a statement game against this team. It's a bottom-feeding team. Let's be real. It's a bottom-feeding team. They should go out there. They should put up a good amount of goals. They should do everything right. And listen, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but there's a lot of interesting moves that happened within the last 24 hours with the recall of Nico Dawes. The goaltenders, whoever, and Vitek is going to be the starter tonight, he's got to go out there and he's got to show them why he should be the number one. This is one of those games where he could really assert himself. You have a lot of firepower on that Blue Jackets team, and I joke and say they're a bottom-feeding team, but at the same time, you have to give them the respect that they deserve. Because otherwise, if you sleep on these guys, they'll come up and they'll surprise you like they did in that 2-1 loss.
Yeah, they're in big trouble if they don't take this team seriously, because guess what? Last year, the Devils, they broke their single-season record for points and wins in a season. Yet this year, they have more points in the month of December than they did in the month of December last year when they were as good as they were, which is very surprising. But in the month of December, they lost to the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks, who are also bottom-feeding teams. So the Devils, they need to come into this game feeling good about themselves, because I'll tell you what, the Blue Jackets have players that could make you pay. You leave Johnny Gaudreau with open ice, he's going to score. You leave Adam Fantilli with some open ice, he's going to score. They got other good players up and down their roster as well. Guys like Kent Johnson and Zach Werenski and some of these high-end talented players. Yes, they're not a great team because their bottom six and their defensive depth isn't all there. And, you see what happens when stuff like that happens to your team. The Devils dealt with that for a very long time. The Blue Jackets, though, you should be able to contain them. Hopefully they're able to. Little bit of a interesting situation with the Blue Jackets in their last game, too. Merzlikins got into it with Tom Wilson inside of the net. There was a lot of chirping. Ovechkin scored in overtime, and they're all yelling, F you, Elvis, as he's leaving the ice. and then they go into the Christmas break feeling anything but holly and jolly. So hopefully the Devils keep that going. Now, you touched on Nico Dawes getting called up by the Devils. What's your takeaway from that? What's kind of going through your brain when you see that Dawes gets called up?
So when Anaheim was in town and Nico Dawes got called up the last time, and Vitek was, for lack of a better term, we'll say sick or whatever. He didn't say he was sick. He didn't say he was hurt. He said he just needed – he didn't really say anything, actually. In fact, when he was asked after the game, when he came back, they were like, hey, what happened? He was like, no answer. There's something going on, obviously, right? So you brought up Nico Dawes. The whole weird thing with Gibson in net, where he plays 2 periods, really strong 2 periods, and then all of a sudden gets ill and leaves the game, which by accounts, he actually did get ill. How much do I believe in all that stuff? I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy guy like Sam Wu, but I will say this. I do believe in some conspiracies, and the old saying where there's smoke, there's fire. I feel like the reason he's coming up with the roster freeze ending tomorrow, that something is maybe on the verge of happening. In my conspiracy theory, I feel like they had a deal worked out with Anaheim. They saw what they needed to see from Gibson. They were at the 11th hour of getting something done, and then something happened where they had to cycle it back, and they're like, okay, maybe not today. Maybe this is a deal that goes on, but you brought up something really interesting that kind of perked up my ears. And who did there's another team out there you said that brought up another one of their aspiring goaltending prospects, and who was that?
So the Nashville Predators today called up Akira Askarov, and that is very interesting to me because he was a highly drafted goaltender, first-round pick. I want to say it was 11th overall.
Yes.
I remember studying Askarov because for work I cover the Chicago Blackhawks on the side professionally, and I thought they would go for a goalie in their draft year, and that ended up not working out that way. So I remember studying Askarov closely, and he's awesome. He is, he's truly awesome. I'm not sure that Nashville is thinking like, okay, we have UC Saros, who for the last 3 or 4 years or so, basically since Pekka Rinne retired, has been one of the top goalies in the NHL. The Nashville Predators pulled the Green Bay Packers and went from Favre to Rodgers. They went from Rinne to Saros. A lot of teams would like to sign up for something like that. But now they might want to move on to Askarov. I'm not sure if that's the situation that's brewing here. I remember when the Tampa Bay Lightning had Ben Bishop firmly in place, and he was getting nominated for Vezina trophies and whatnot. But they had this Vasilevsky kid in their pipeline that they eventually wanted to get playing, and now you can argue that Vasilevsky's one of the 5 greatest goaltenders to ever live. So there's success to making moves like that, and there's failures to making moves like that. But the Devils, they need a goalie, so you definitely would think that their nose is poking around the league as a whole. I'm interested to see what becomes of all this, though. But yes, there are some tweets on X going around, with people kind of going, I wonder, just kind of raising the eyebrow a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, listen, Nashville's in a better position than we are. So that it's not like they're in a Anaheim situation where they're not in the bottom of the league. So they're still playing for something. So it begs the question of why would you want to move away from Saros if you're going to kind of basically bring in an unproven entity into the season? So who knows? That situation, the more you kind of wrap your head around it, the more it's you're not really sure where they're going. But it just brings up a lot of interesting coincidences, right? And I always say a coincidence happens for a reason. The Gibson thing, listen, if they make a move, if they get a goaltender, my biggest thing is fantastic if they get Gibson, fantastic if they get Saros, but what is it going to cost you? And the biggest thing that we were talking about before we got on air too is Seamus Casey and his emergence in the last year and going into the World Juniors this year, where people are really starting to get eyes on him and really starting to notice him. Listen, those in the inner circle already saw this kid. Those that watch college hockey already know this kid. Those that are kind of on the fringe are now getting that taste from the World Juniors and are starting to see how Seamus Casey could be that next great offensive defenseman. Being that we already have 2 of them, in Luke Hughes and Nemish, do we need to keep Casey? Is he the heir apparent to one John Marino, who I would never want to get rid of John Marino, but I'm just saying, like, could you use John to get a bigger piece, and then you bring up Seamus Casey when the time is right? So there's a lot of things, and as Shorts Guy usually says, I'm glad I'm not the one making the decisions, because I'm always the type of person, like, I don't like to cut bait on anybody. The last thing I'd want to do is cut bait on Seamus Casey and then watch him flourish and become like the next Luke Hughes or even better.
I couldn't agree more. Now, I think having like good young defensemen is very important, but the Devils have kind of put themselves in a position where they could move one of these defensemen. I don't think you're going to move Hughes, or Nemitz based on where they were drafted, right? You took Nemitz 2nd overall. You took Luke Hughes 4th overall. And I like to think the Devils have 3 number 1 picks on their team, because part of me does think if they had the number 1 pick in 2021, they would have thought about taking Luke Hughes over Owen Power. I do think that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what the mindset would be there, but they have all this high-end skill. If they moved on from Casey to get an elite goaltender like that, I would be sad, but I would root for him with his new team. He has been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, he's basically getting all of Luke Hughes' minutes at Michigan this year.
Yep.
And now he's in the World Juniors making passes to Jimmy Snuggerud, and he's sniping power play goals. So, you know, they've just been outstanding watching that Team USA team, you know, kind of go through the motion of the pre-tournament games and what they did yesterday against Norway. Seamus Casey was buzzing. Yep. So I'm excited about the kid, but if they got an elite goaltender, I think this team could go on a run.
Yeah, listen, and that's the other thing that I think about is with how long would you have this goaltender for, and how much will it end up costing you in the long run? With, you know, next year the cap's going to go up. You're getting a couple million off the cap because of Corey Schneider's buyout is going to be gone. You have some room to wiggle, and that's great. But the thing is like you're going to have to make room for when Luke is ready to make a contract, when Nemec is ready to make a contract, when. And by the way, I'm saying this, and as I'm saying this, my gears are turning, and I'm like, well, by then, maybe you're moving away from Dougie Hamilton. Maybe you're moving away from, like, certain players that have, like, the big cap hits that you're like, okay, thank you for your time, but we'll see you later. If whatever goalie they get, if they get Gibson, he's got 3 years left on his term. I don't know how much Saros has, if that's the way they go. But they have to make the money work, which – you would think either VTech or somebody with a big enough cap hit that's going to make a dent this year is going to have to go back. Yes, I'm aware that they have money to play with right now with Dougie being on LTIR, but there's still, when he comes off the following year, if you sign somebody that has term to him, you're going to run into the problem of like, all right, well, now we have serious questions of like who we have to do and what we have to move on from.
Absolutely. And it's all going to be like you said, quoting Shorts Guy. We're not the ones making that decision. That's nice, but it is fun to think about. Yeah, thank God. But it is fun to think about what the future might hold for this team on the back end and with the goaltending situation. We know the forward groups are pretty set for a long time. Yeah. There's obviously a big 4 on the forward front when it comes to being locked in already, and that's Timo Meier, Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Jesper Bratt. We'd like to see Tyler Toffoli be around for a long time, and we'd like to see Dawson Mercer be around for a long time. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. But Timo Meier, he was real cold coming back from the injury. And in their most recent couple of games there, 3 goals in 2 games, got to feel pretty good seeing Timo Meier back on the score sheet and kind of looking like the Timo Meier that existed last year.
And not only, I'll say this, not only did he score 3 goals in those 2 games, he threw a big hit in the last game. That was a very reminiscent Timo Meier type of hit. It was putting his shoulder right into somebody and knocking him back. Like, his physical abilities are not just scoring goals. He's a big, heavy forward. He's a dude that likes to throw his body around. The games leading up to the last couple, you could see that not that he was timid in the corners, not that he was timid going against anybody in the boards or like actually going after somebody, but he just wasn't the same. And I know a lot of people were like, we made a mistake with Timo, like blah, 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 blah. Now that he's starting to get better, you're starting to see the player that we traded for. If he continues scoring 1-2 goals every couple games, Jack has been dry for the last 2 games. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you have that secondary scoring. You have Nico there. You have Jesper there. You have other guys. You don't have to rely on just the Jack Hughes line. So, oh, it's over here. The camera's right there. Look. There you go. Now you're up on the big screen. Just a couple fans.
People just want to be on the screen.
Yeah. So I have some big news tonight. I have the opportunity to upgrade 3 people tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if there's 3 people that want to upgrade their seats tonight, wherever you're sitting, if you're at the game tonight, you'll be upgrading to Section 5. At the top of Section 5, one of the best, if you ask Tom, one of our very loyal listeners, one of the best sections in the entire world. So if there are 3 fans that are at the game tonight that are listening right now that want to upgrade their seats, you can come and meet me before the game, either here at the end of this podcast or inside. I'll hang out by Section 5 for a little bit. Send me a message through oh, hey, Ted, what's going on? Send me a message through the chat right now on YouTube Live. And if you want to upgrade your seats, or heck, if you're not at the game and you want to go to the game, you got to let me know before we get into the stadium. But send me a message and we'll make it happen. But anyways, and yes, Ted, you should have gone. You should have gone.
You should always go. And this is the part, speaking of the chat, where I want every single person to go into the YouTube comments right now and throw in your predictions for what you think is going to happen in tonight's game between the New Jersey Devils and the Columbus Blue Jackets. You brought up Jack Hughes. I think he's not going to like the way the last game or 2 have gone for him. A couple points in each of those games. Jack Hughes, he's going to collect his power play points along the way. Even when he kind of plays stinky games, he'll collect his power play points along the way. He's such a good player. It's hard to get mad at him if he has a game or 2 that's off. But, what are you kind of expecting from him before we get into our predictions here?
Like you said, he doesn't have to. I feel like Jack presses sometimes where he feels like he needs to carry the team. He just has to understand that he doesn't need to be the end-all, be-all. When he's comfortable and he's confident is when he's the most dangerous. When he's pressing and when he's getting frustrated, he turns the puck over, like in that overtime game against the Flyers. Like, it looked like he was trying to do too much. It felt like he was pressing too much. When he's just doing his thing and he's just kind of out there like playing his confident self, that's when Jack is electric. If he could just realize, listen, I don't have to score every game. I don't have to be productive every game. You'll start to see the production. You'll start to see the scoring. Because that relaxed Jack, whew, can't beat that.
Absolutely. You can't beat that. Very much looking forward to see what he's able to do tonight against the Blue Jackets, especially knowing that they only scored 1 last time the 2 teams played. So hopefully they're able to figure that out and kind of get the offense going. I think it's absolutely possible. Now, let's get back to the real business of making some predictions in the chat. If you haven't yet, go put them in right now. It will be read aloud if you put it in the chat before the end of the show. Joseph says 6-0 Devils.
Yep.
Steve Engel says 4-2 Devils, or 5-2 Devils, excuse me. Selecta says 4-2 Devils. Peter says 4-1. Vitek Vanacek is hitting his stride. Hopefully that's the case. Ted says Devils 5-2. Timo stays on his hot streak. Would absolutely love that. Art says 3-1 Devils. Morgan says 4-1 Devils. The Heads Up Hockey Podcast, I don't know who's running that account, but it's the Heads Up Hockey Podcast. 7-1 Devils. Jack Hughes hat-trick. Simone Nemitz, 1 goal, 1 assist. Kevin Ball, 2 assists, 5 hits, and 2 blocks. Very specific prediction there. I'd love to see something like that come true, though. But Crazy Coasty says 4-3 Devils. Beer Baron. While some more predictions possibly roll in, I'm curious, who do you think is going to win tonight's game and by how much?
I think it's a statement game for the Devils. I think it's going to be 4-1. I agree with that. I think it's going to be 4-1. Devils are going to come out hot. They're going to come out on their front foot. They're going to score 2 in the first period. It's going to kind of quiet down in the second, and then they're going to open up in the third. And that 1 goal that's going to be scored by the Blue Jackets is going to be one of those fluky, like, all right, settle in, boys. Like, get your stuff together kind of goal.
I love it. I absolutely love it. A lot of people are thinking kind of big here in this game between the Devils and the Blue Jackets. Not a lot of people thinking that the Devils are going to win a small margin game. I think the Devils are going to score some goals, but I also think the Blue Jackets probably get one or two. I'm going to go, this is going to sound crazy, I'm going to go 5-4 Devils.
Okay.
I just think that the Devils are going to go on a run. The Devils, they'll score some goals, but you know what? This isn't a team that's perfect defensively. There are two teenagers on the back end. The goaltending has been sus, but I still think that Vitek Vanacek could still play a good game and then win 5-2. It's going to be I'm looking for a fun game here. That's kind of basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you what. It's so funny you say the 5-4 prediction. I'm here with my good friend John. He's a great friend of the podcast. His son, he calls him the Oracle. He predicts so many scores, like Devils win, lose. This kid is like one of the most accurate at predicting scores, and I'd be a disservice if I didn't tell him. Sammy brought up Devils win 5-4, but they win it in overtime. So, I don't know.
I'll take it. I would take it.
You might be onto something. You might be onto something.
I like it. I would take it. And then, of course, the great Sam Wu predicts 8-2 Devils. Meyer with 4 points. Just a very typical Sam Wu conservative prediction there.
Yes. 8-2. I love that. 8-2.
I would love that. One of these days, so Sam always throws out these like insane scores. One of these days he's going to hit, and we're going to pretend like the first 50 times he wasn't way off, and just like that one time he guessed it, and it's going to be outstanding. I'm so very much looking forward to that day.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's today. A nice 8-2 Devils victory would be awesome, but I hope everybody has a good time at the game today. Go find Beer Baron.
Yes.
Either upgrade your seats or get tickets in general.
Yeah, dude.
Beer Baron.
I got 3 of them.
You're the man.
2 of them. Two tickets I can give away if you're just looking to get into the game. 3 to upgrade you if you're going to upgrade.
There you go. Go do it. Go find Beer Baron. He's wearing that sick new Devils hat.
Hey, by the way, this is going to be the Stadium Series. I have a prediction on that too.
I think so too. I've seen that way too much lately.
Yes.
Way too much. They made the scarf I saw. There are T-shirts. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't the Stadium Series.
Yeah, and the T-shirts they shoot out for the T-shirt contest, or like when they just throw out the shirts.
Yeah.
Are the red shirts with the black logo? So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me at all. Would you be cool with that?
I kind of love it, man. I kind of love it.
I love it too. I'm happy to hear that. There was one other question I was going to ask, but I kind of drew a blank. It had to do with the Stadium Series hat, though.
Although this is my favorite alternate jersey they ever came out with. This one or the Heritage jersey is my all-time favorite. But the green on this one, the retro reverse jersey from a couple years ago, is like one of my favorite things in the world. Like, it's just, I love the green. The green, red. I love the black and red is great, but the green and red and white need to make a comeback. Whatever, Christmas tree, blah, 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 blah. Listen, as an artist, complementary colors, man. It's the best color combination. But anyways.
I agree. It should, if they want to make it the primary, I'd be cool with that. But even if they want to keep black and red primary, I just wish we saw it a little bit more than we do.
Agreed.
We get it in spurts. It's never going to go away. I just wish if it were 10% of the time we got it instead of less than 1%. I would love that.
Agreed.
So I hope everybody enjoyed watching the show today. It has been an absolute blast putting it on for you and talking Devils hockey. Hopefully they get a big win here today against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And again, if you're at American Whiskey or going to the game, go find Beer Baron, upgrade your seats, and drink and brew. We make winning memories together for Beer Baron. My name is Vinnie Parise, and of course, for the great Sam Wu, as he always says, let's go Devils.